Imagine a tank designed with a radical, almost suicidal philosophy, that heavy armor is dead. In a world of deadly anti-tank missiles, German engineers decided to build a machine that was light, incredibly fast, and armed with a laser-precise gun. This is the Leopard 1. It was the first tank built by West Germany after World War II, a sleek, lethal predator designed to outrun and outshoot the Soviet masses. Today, we're looking at the glass blade and why the 60-year-old veteran is back on the front lines, proving that agility is still a weapon of war. The origin of the Leopard 1 was born from the ashes of post-war Germany and a desperate need to defend the Fulda Gap from a potential Soviet invasion. By the late 1950s, West Germany was finally allowed to rearm, but they refused to simply copy American or British designs. They formed a partnership with France and Italy to create a European standard tank. However, the Germans had a very specific and controversial vision. They believed that modern heat shells had made heavy steel armor obsolete. Their new tank wouldn't be a slow, iron fortress, it would be a fast, agile hunter that relied on not being hit in the first place. The engineering of the Leopard 1 was a masterclass in mobility. While the Soviet T-54 and the American M60 were becoming heavier and slower, the Leopard was kept at a slim 40 tons. It was powered by a 830 horsepower MTU multi-fuel engine, giving it a power-to-weight ratio that was unheard of at the time. This allowed the Leopard to reach speeds of nearly 45 miles per hour, accelerating like a sports car across open terrain. It was the Ferrari of tanks, a machine that could reposition itself in seconds, striking the enemy from one flank and disappearing before they could even rotate their turrets. To give the Leopard its bite, the Germans chose the legendary British L7 105mm rifled gun. This cannon was the gold standard of the Cold War, famous for its incredible accuracy and flat trajectory. Combined with high-quality German optics from Zeiss, the Leopard 1 became a long-range sniper. A well-trained crew could pick off targets from miles away with surgical precision. The philosophy was simple: see first, shoot first, and move before the enemy can respond. It was a glass blade, extremely sharp and lethal, but fragile if caught in a direct slugfest. Protection on the Leopard 1 was, by design, its weakest point. The frontal armor was only about 70 mm thick, barely enough to stop heavy machine guns or light autocannons. To a traditional tanker, this felt like a death sentence. But the German engineers argued that the weight saved on armor was better spent on fuel, ammunition, and speed. They designed the tank with a low silhouette and excellent ergonomics, ensuring the crew could work with maximum efficiency. The Leopard wasn't meant to sit in a trench and take hits, it was meant to dance through the battlefield, using the terrain as its primary shield. One of the most underrated features of the Leopard 1 was its power-pack design. The entire engine and transmission could be swapped out in less than 20 minutes in field conditions. This was a logistical revolution. While Soviet tanks required days of heavy labor for engine repairs, a damaged Leopard could be back in the fight before lunch. This focus on maintainability and reliability became a hallmark of German engineering, proving that a tank's effectiveness is measured not just by its armor, but by how many hours it can actually spend on the front lines. When the Leopard 1 officially entered service in 1965, it was a bold statement of West German industrial recovery. It was sleek, modern, and radiated a sense of technological elegance. It quickly became the standard tank for NATO's European members, from the Netherlands and Belgium to Norway and Canada. The Leopard 1 established a new Euro style of armored warfare, one that prioritized tactical flexibility and crew training over brute force. The glass blade was ready to face the Soviet tide, a silent sentinel on the border of the Iron Curtain, waiting for a war everyone hoped would never come. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, the Leopard 1 served as the primary deterrent against the Warsaw Pact. It was the iron wall that never slept, participating in massive NATO exercises like Reforger to prove that Western technology could hold back the Soviet masses. Leopard crews were trained to be the elite snipers of Europe, mastering the art of the hull-down ambush. They knew that in a real war, they would be outnumbered 10-1, so they focused on every possible advantage, from superior night vision to the ability to fire accurately while reversing at high speeds to avoid counterfire. The Leopard 1's reputation for reliability made it a massive export success. Canada purchased the Leopard C-1, using it to patrol the rugged terrain of West Germany as part of their NATO contribution. The Australians bought the Leopard AS-1, finding it perfect for their vast, open landscapes. In every country that operated it, the Leopard was praised for its ease of use and its driver-friendly nature. It wasn't a temperamental beast like the Soviet designs. It was a reliable tool that soldiers could trust to start every morning, even in the freezing snow of Norway or the dust of the Mediterranean. As tank technology advanced, the Leopard 1 underwent a series of massive upgrades, culminating in the legendary 1A5 version. This model introduced a sophisticated computerized fire control system, the EMES-18, which was derived from the much newer Leopard 2. It gave the old tank night fighting capabilities and a ballistic computer that made its 105mm gun more lethal than ever. The 1A5 turned the aging Leopard from a Cold War relic into a modern digital warrior, capable of engaging much newer Soviet tanks with a high probability of a first-round kill. The blade was being sharpened for a new era. Combat for the Leopard 1 came in unexpected places. In the 1990s, Danish Leopard 1A5s were deployed as part of the UN peacekeeping force in Bosnia. During Operation Balabank, the Danish Leopards were ambushed by Serbian forces. In a display of pure tactical superiority, the Leopards used their superior night vision and accuracy to return fire, obliterating Serbian positions without losing a single tank. It was the first time the Leopard 1 had seen real combat, and it proved that even with thin armor, its speed and precision made it a terrifying opponent in the hands of a professional crew. Canada also took their Leopards to war in Afghanistan. Facing IEDs and RPGs, the Canadians added Mex's ceramic armor kits to their tanks, turning the glass blade into a much tougher brawler. The Leopard proved to be an essential tool for infantry support, providing a psychological shield for the soldiers on the ground. The sight of a Leopard moving through a village was often enough to make insurgents retreat. It proved that the 105mm gun was still perfect for destroying bunkers and sniper nests, showing that the Leopard's versatility was far more important than its original armor is dead philosophy. By the early 2000s, many nations began to retire their Leopard 1s in favor of the massive Leopard 2. Thousands of tanks were put into storage or sold to countries like Brazil, Chile, and Greece. To many, it seemed like the era of the Leopard 1 was over. It was a respected veteran, a symbol of a bygone era of the Cold War. But the story of the Leopard 1 had one more dramatic twist left, a twist that would bring it back from the scrapyard and onto the most violent battlefields of the 21st century. The glass blade was about to be unsheathed once more. The 2022 invasion of Ukraine created a desperate need for armored vehicles, leading to the resurrection of the Leopard 1. Germany, along with Denmark and the Netherlands, pledged to refurbish and send over 100 Leopard 1A5s to help the Ukrainian army. Critics were quick to point out its age and its thin armor, calling it a suicide tank on a modern battlefield filled with drones and ATGMs. But the Ukrainians saw it differently. To them, the Leopard 1A5 wasn't an old tank, it was a high-precision mobile gun system with a fire control system that still outclassed most of the Soviet T-62s and T-72s they were facing. In the mud and tree lanes of the Donbass, the Leopard 1A5 has found a unique role as a long-range sniper. Ukrainian crews use the tank's superior optics to identify Russian positions from miles away and then use the 105mm L7 gun to strike with pinpoint accuracy. They don't use the Leopard for frontal assaults on heavily fortified lines, they use it for fire and maneuver tactics, striking, repositioning, and striking again. The tank's high reverse speed, which was a key part of its original 1960s design, has proven to be a lifesaver, allowing crews to back out of danger before Russian artillery can zero in on them. The survivability of the Leopard 1 in Ukraine has surprised many. While it can't take a hit from a heavy tank shell, Ukrainian crews have been adding explosive reactive armor, ERA, to their Leopards to protect against drones and RPGs. More importantly, the Leopard's reliability means it's always ready when needed. In a war where many tanks spend weeks in repair, the Leopard 1's easy maintenance keeps it in the fight. Ukrainian soldiers have praised the tank's ergonomics, noting that it's much more comfortable and easier to operate than the cramped Soviet machines they are used to, allowing them to fight longer and harder without exhaustion. The Leopard 1 is also serving as a vital training platform. It is the bridge for Ukrainian tankers to learn Western armored philosophy. By mastering the Leopard 1, crews are prepared for the more complex Leopard 2 and Abrams. The similarities in the fire control systems and the tactical use of the tank make the transition much smoother. The Leopard 1 isn't just a weapon, it's a school of modern warfare, teaching a new generation of soldiers how to use speed, optics, and communication as their primary armor. It is the foundation upon which Ukraine is building its modern armored force. One of the most effective uses of the Leopard 1 in Ukraine is as a mobile artillery piece. With its high-precision gun and advanced ballistics computer, it can provide direct fire support for the infantry that is far more accurate than traditional mortars or older Soviet cannons. It can take out a machine gun nest in a window from 2 kilometers away with a single shot. This surgical strike capability is essential in urban and forest fighting, where minimizing collateral damage and maximizing impact is the key to success. The Leopard 1 has proven that a 105mm shell is still a terrifyingly effective tool of war. The presence of the Leopard 1 on the battlefield is also a major psychological factor. For the Russian forces, seeing a Western tank on the horizon, even an older one, is a sign that the world's industrial power is standing behind Ukraine. It forces the Russians to change their tactics, to be more cautious, and to dedicate their best weapons to hunting down a 60-year-old veteran. The Leopard 1 has become a symbol of resilience, a machine that refused to be scrapped and instead chose to return to the front lines to fight the very enemy it was designed to stop 6 decades ago. The final analysis of the Leopard 1 is a story of a radical idea that turned out to be right. While the world laughed at its thin armor in 1965, the modern battlefield has proven that not being hit is often more important than surviving a hit. In the age of javelins and kamikaze drones, no amount of steel can make a tank truly invincible. The Leopard 1's focus on speed, low profile, and superior sensors was a blueprint for the future. It was the first tank to truly embrace the idea that a tank is not just armor, but a complex weapon system where every part must work together for survival. The influence of the Leopard 1 can be seen in every modern German tank that followed, especially the Leopard 2. The focus on high-quality optics, rapid engine replacement, and superior crew ergonomics became the DNA of the German tank industry. The Leopard 1 taught the world that a tank must be deployable and sustainable, it must be able to reach the battlefield and stay there. It moved the world away from the heavy slugger mentality of the 1950s toward the agile, high-tech main battle tank of today. It was a pioneer of the sensor-first era of warfare. Even today, the Leopard 1 continues to find new roles. From being used as a basis for bridge layers and recovery vehicles to serving as a technology demonstrator for new sensors, the chassis is remarkably adaptable. Its simple, robust mechanical components mean it can be kept running for pennies compared to modern turbine-powered tanks. This makes it an ideal platform for nations that need a high-performance armored vehicle but don't have a multi-billion-dollar budget. The Leopard 1 has proven that a good design never truly dies, it just finds a new job to do. Standing next to a Leopard 1 in a museum, you see a tank that looks fast even while standing still. Its sharp angles and low-slung turret give it a predatory appearance that is unmistakably German. It doesn't have the brute, ugly mass of the Soviet designs or the over-engineered complexity of some American tanks. It looks like a precision instrument, built by people who believed in efficiency above all else. It is a machine that represents the recovery of a nation and the creation of a defensive shield that kept Europe free for half a century. For the thousands of soldiers who served in Leopard 1s over the last 60 years, the tank is more than just steel. It is the Leopard family. It is a machine that rewarded skill and precision. Whether it was the tankers in the forests of West Germany or the crews in the sands of Australia, they all share a respect for the glass blade. They knew its limits, but they also knew its incredible power. It was a tank that made the crew feel like they were part of a high-tech team, a feeling that has carried over into the modern era of armored warfare. In the final analysis, the Leopard 1 is one of the most successful armored vehicles in history. It wasn't built to be a hero, it was built to be a hunter. It survived the Cold War without firing a shot in anger in Europe, and yet, it is now fighting the most important war of the 21st century. It is a machine of speed, glass, and iron, a silent sentinel that has finally found its voice in the fields of Ukraine. The Leopard 1 remains a testament to the power of a bold idea, proving that even a 60-year-old blade, if kept sharp, can still strike with the fury of a king.